What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we begin our talks on the Divine Soul Sorcerer, the sorcerer that has been given abilities by the gods. But are the gods enough to beat some of the other subclasses? We will just have to find that out today. But before we do that, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure to share the video with your friends and click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. So yeah, today we're talking about a sorcerer that has been given powers by some kind of other being. Now, we've talked about other ways that you get powers by other beings, things like the paladin and the cleric. Of course, I'll throw some of that up in the icon above for you, but this is a little bit different. This is a more innate power that you are given that you get to keep, rather than it being something you constantly are having to communicate with your deity in order to get things to happen. Now, can you roleplay it that way? Absolutely, but this is kind of flavored to be something that you just have within you, a gift of sorts that you have been given by the gods in order to be more powerful. But is it better than some of the other subclasses that we've already talked about or are going to talk about? Let's find out. Starting off, we get Divine Magic, and this actually gives us a pretty major change to how our spell casting works going forward with this subclass. So with this, not only do we get to have a few extra spells on our list that we'll talk about in a second, but we get to now choose our spells from not only the sorcerer spell list, but also the cleric spell list. And so all of these spells are now available to us, and they all count as sorcerer spells. Even if you take something from the cleric list, it still counts as a sorcerer spell for you because of how all of this works. And furthermore, given your alignment, you may want to choose another spell here. Now, you have good, evil, law, and chaos, which each give you a different spell, as well as neutrality. Now, technically, you can just choose whichever one of them that you want, and you can replace it later if you want with a spell from the cleric list. So that's also an option if you want to do it that way. Either way, we've got a lot of open extra options here. This is pretty amazing. As we talked about back when we talked about the cleric, we said that the spell list for the cleric is absolutely incredible. From levels 1 to 9, they're all amazing spells here. We get amazing offensive spells, you get healing spells, you get some support stuff. There's all kinds of things that we will want. And as a sorcerer, being able to take some of those spells that are really powerful and add meta magic on top of them is really good. Plus, we get an extra spell, which I really like. This is a 10 out of 10. Getting access to an entire other spell list and it all counting as a sorcerer spell for us, being able to cast it with our normal charisma is great. We don't have to worry about using wisdom or anything like that. And we're not going to be behind in our progression at all by doing this. I don't know what to tell you. The list is too good to not pass up. Also at level 1, we get favored by the gods, and this is actually a little bit of a help whenever we don't quite succeed on something we're trying to work on. So whenever we make a saving throw or an attack roll and we fail, we can roll 2d4 and add it to that total, which possibly could change the outcome. This, of course, is a one-time use per rest, either short or long. This is pretty cool, right? I definitely would prefer it to be a little bit better of the you don't use up your use of this unless it succeeds, but still, this isn't bad to have in a clutch situation. If you really are going for a clutch attack roll, say with like a chromatic orb or something like that, or there's a clutch saving throw against being mind controlled or whatever it happens to be, this could make a huge difference. This is up to an 8 in difference, which is pretty big, right? Obviously, you're not going to roll that every time, but still, I still really like those odds there. This is an 8 out of 10 feature. Yes, it's a little restricted there, and like it's 2d4, but honestly, I still think that you're going to use this every time that you have a rest. It's a really good feature, applicable in all kinds of situations. It's really good. Next up, at level 6, we get Empowered Healing, and this does pretty much exactly what it says it's going to do, and it empowers your healing. So with this, whenever you or an ally that is within 5 feet of you rolls dice to determine the number of hit points that a spell restores, you can spend 1 sorcery point to re-roll any number of those dice, as long as you are not incapacitated. You can use this feature once per turn. This is pretty cool. Now, it does not say that you have to be the one who casts this spell. So if a cleric is next to you and is rolling healing, then that could be really good, right? This could help. If somebody is even better at healing than you, then you can just help out with that. Or if you are rocking the healing spells, again, because you have access to the cleric list, so you might be taking on that healing role, this is really helpful in that situation as well. What I like about this is that it's just healing spells. It's not specifically your healing spells. So if you've got an ally that is down, then you can stand next to the cleric that is pumping out something. You know, maybe you're out of high level spell slots, but the cleric has them. There's just a lot of situations to where I can see this absolutely working, and it's only 1 sorcery point, so it's really cheap. It's really worth it. Now, does it guarantee that you're going to be able to make it better? No, but on average, you're probably going to make it better if you're re-rolling 1s and 2s. So ultimately, I think this is pretty nice. This again gets an 8 out of 10. It's really, really nice to be able to do that. And honestly, it would be a lot worse if it was only relegated to your healing spells, but it's not. As long as a healing spell is going off within 5 feet of you, then it works once per turn. And I'm honestly okay with that. At level 14, we get Angelic Form, and this is actually pretty similar to Dragon Wings, which we talked about back last week when we talked about the Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer. Basically with this, as a bonus action, you grow wings, and this is really cool. You have a flying speed of 30 feet, and they last until you're incapacitated, die, or dismiss them. Now, the appearance can vary depending on your affinity or your alignment, but ultimately, you're probably going to be fine to do whatever you want as long as your DM says that it's okay. Again, this is really cool. Now, it's a little different than Draconic Bloodline just because this is limited to 30 feet rather than it being your walking speed. That, of course, comes from the fact that you can increase your walking speed through feats and other things like that. So this is kind of trying to limit that back, but the amount of time that you have this is unlimited until you tell them to go away, or you can no longer control them because you're unconscious or dead. So ultimately, this is still really, really nice. Even with the 30 feet restriction, I still really don't mind it. It's still a 10 out of 10 for me. Concentration-free flight is never going to be a bad thing because you no longer have to use your spell slots on something like fly. You don't have to worry about it, and you can get yourself out of the main part of the fight. And as a sorcerer, that is absolutely what you are going to want to be doing. Finally, level 18, we get Unearthly Recovery, and if you start feeling a little rough in battle, you can just get over it because you won't feel that bad anymore. So with this, as a bonus action, whenever you are below half of your hit point maximum, you can actually just regain hit points equal to half of your hit point maximum, and you can do this once per long rest. Just regain half your HP for free. And that's really, really good, especially for a sorcerer, because that's essentially multiplying your hit point number by 1.5. Sorcerers are known for not having that much HP, but with a boost of a 1.5 times multiplier, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Now, obviously, this is once per day, so if you're going through multiple fights, obviously this could be a problem. But as long as you can keep yourself somewhat healthy toward the beginning of the day and then blow this toward the end of the day, again as a bonus action, so it's not that bad of a problem to do there. This is gonna be a really good thing to have in your back pocket. I've got to give this an 8 out of 10. I think it's really nice. I don't think it's anything broken. I don't think it's anything busted, but it does help out in a way that sorcerers typically are going to struggle, and I really can't knock it for that. So what do we think of the Divine Soul Sorcerer? This thing's really cool. I think that this subclass is done really, really well. I think it's balanced well, which is nice, but it's still very powerful. The expanded options to your spell list make a huge difference. Not even that the sorcerer list is bad, but just that the cleric list is so good. You get a lot of spells that are exclusive to cleric, and a lot of them will maybe take your bonus action, like spiritual weapon maybe, and there are plenty of others. You get a ton of healing that you wouldn't have gotten before. You get some revivification that you wouldn't have before. You get a lot of different options, which allows you to really customize this sorcerer to be whatever you want it to be, and that helps out a lot. And then the other features take it a step further. It doesn't even stop at that feature there, because you also get to add a 2d4 to some checks if you miss those. You get some extra help on healing spells that your friends cast. You get wings for free flight. Just a lot of stuff is really working out here. Now, do I think that this is better than the Clockwork Soul or the Aberrant Mind? Unfortunately, I'd have to say no. While I think that it's great having all the extra spells available to us, we ultimately cannot have as many prepared at a time. And that's a big difference here when it comes to what makes things better. So to me, this is going to be just below those. And so it's a 9 out of 10 overall. Still very, very respectable, a very good ranking, and absolutely will deserve a build later this week. So thank you all so much for watching. Let me know down below if you think that my ranking's too high, if you think it's supposed to be a 10 out of 10, if you think it's better than either of those others that I mentioned. Just let me know in the comments down below, and we will build one later this week. Until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.